Hello, I'm Ruben and welcome to this week's Samplecast. This is episode number 45. We're rocketing along. After episode 50 I'll be taking a little bit of a break, but that's a few weeks to come. We've got a whole host of things for you in this week's show, including the return of the big review and loads of freebies later on in the show. So let's get on with it. I haven't heard much from Ilya Efimov lately, so it's nice to have him back with a new guitar library. This is a 5-string bass for Contact running in the full version 5.6 and above. It's almost 6 GB compressed and has up to 14 velocity layers. There's round robins too and various articulations including picks, slaps and palm mutes. There's also some nice slides and thumb and pop samples in there too. There's some great audio demos online, but at the moment, unfortunately, there's no video overview. So get it together, guys. You need one of those. You know where to come to if you want to put one together. Do check it out at the Ilya Efimov website. Dada Life's Endless Smile plugin is up next. This is their second plugin, and although it's not as flexible as their Sausage Fattener, which I covered in the Samplecast a few episodes ago, it does look fun and it will be useful for those creating EDM and dance music build-ups. There's 7 presets here and an intensity knob, and that's pretty much it apart from the little cartoon on the interface. The intensity knob dials in filter effects, reverb, delay, white noise and other crazy effects to push dance music build-ups to the max. At $39, this might be a plugin too far for those that want to construct their own build-ups, but for lazy composers like me, I think it's going to be pretty useful. Have a look at the Dada Life website for details. Vellum by The Unfinished is released on Friday the 26th of May. It's a 200 patch sound set for the Zebra 2 synth, and otherworldly sci-fi sounds are the order of the day here. There's also an extended set of an additional 200 patches, which will be available on Friday. Do check out the details at the Unfinished website. Lastly, I'll finish up with Evolution Hollowbody Blues Guitar from Orange Tree Samples. Thanks so much to Greg over at Orange Tree for getting me involved with this release. I did the walkthrough video for this Hollowbody electric guitar, and it's a 13 GB library suitable for blues and jazz, that sort of thing. There's lots of articulations here, velocity layers and round robins, and it also includes the new version of Orange Tree Samples Evolution engine, which now has more presets and additional effects and cabinet emulations. I'm not going to wax lyrical for too long about this because everybody will think I always cover Orange Tree Sample stuff, which I do, but check out my video and the preset walkthrough video as well online, which sounds particularly authentic. A couple of nice bargains this week, and they've both got a distinctive retro vibe. I love a bit of 80s, and the first one from UVI is Emulation II. This scratches my 80s itch. It's 5 GB of synth and drum sound sampled from vintage hardware, runs in the UVI workstation, which is free. It will also run in Falcon as well. It contains onboard editing functions for tweaking the sounds and a beatbox drum sequencer too, which has 21 preset kits and over 500 drum sounds. It's currently 67% off at just €49. Check it out at the link in the description below. Lounge Lizard Session Rhodes is from Applied Acoustic Systems. It's available from Plugin Boutique, and I think this has got to be the cheapest Rhodes plugin I've ever seen. It's got 16 different Rhodes sounds here with built-in tremolo, chorus, phaser and reverb effects. It's got quite a small RAM footprint too, so it's going to be great for gigging musicians. 80% off this at the moment at just $8.98. Have a look at the description below, which will take you to the Plugin Boutique website. I love PSP plugins, and they don't release an awful lot these days. They've got a lot of kind of vintage stuff, but this is a new update of one of their most popular and transparent sounding EQ plugins. New for version 2 here is an analog drive function for control over the preamp stage for a richer and more analog sound. You've also got a new control for individual channel processing, so you can switch between left, right, mid-side and stereo modes. There's a couple of other innovations on there as well. You can try it for yourself at the PSP website. There's a 30-day trial on there. Do let me know what you think of preQursor 2. With 60 improvements and updates, I'm not going to have the time here to cover everything that PreSonus have loaded into their Studio One 3.5 update, but there's a new project page, a mixer undo function, and a new low latency audio engine. They're just some of the highlights. If you're not already a Studio One user, then perhaps these improvements won't be quite enough to drag you away from your favourite DAW, but if you are, then do jump on this update and have a look, see what all the fuss is about. This week's big review is Divergent Audio Group's Helios. Now this is an atmosphere and pulse sequencer running in the full version of Kontakt 5.6 and above. It's over 2 GB in size and contains unlocked WAV samples. I love it when there's WAV samples included in a sample library. I do always appreciate being able to just drag and drop those even if I don't want to use the engine. There are 115 presets here, and the basic concept is that you load 2 sound sources and you can use 11 different arpeggio type controls to program rhythmic changes in volume, panning, pitch, filter cutoff, resonance, vox, lo-fi, tape saturation, rotator, phasing and drive. So there's a lot of different options for messing with the sound there. Each of these arpeggios can have a number of steps, and you can also change their speed. There's also presets for the ARP shapes and a few overall presets for the whole ARP collection. Now because there's 2 sound sources, you can do this twice, and then there's a central panel where you can set up mixing between the 2 sources to create even more rhythmic patterns. That's got an arpeggio matrix on there as well. After all this, the sound feeds into an FX rack with 6 effects and more rhythmic ARPs that can be applied to make the sounds pulse. I hope that makes sense. Do check out the video online for a little bit of a better demonstration if I'm not explaining it that well. Within the effects rack there are 60 impulse responses, so we're going to have a listen to some of those and have a play through the presets. Good stuff about this library. First off, the interface. It's intuitive and the buttons are bright and they're simple and they're really well laid out. Now, because I'm used to this sort of instrument, it didn't take me too long to get my head around how it actually worked. So big plus points there. The rhythmic sort of dancing between the 2 sound sources often threw up some interesting contrasts in sounds, especially if you programmed it yourself rather than using the arpeggio presets. I also like the huge number of interesting impulse responses. They really do give a unique effect to the sound. Each one sounds markedly different than the next, and it resulted in some quite unusual tones. One big downside of this library, there's no manual for this product at the time of reviewing. Now that means that you'll have to work out for yourself where the snapshot files go. Because I've done this before and I've moved snapshot files around on my system for other libraries, I had no problems. However, anyone that's new to this is going to kind of get really lost. It's going to be impossible for them to know what to do. After speaking with the developers, they have got plans to put a manual in place and create a walkthrough video showing the functions, but be aware that there isn't one at the moment. So in conclusion, Helios sells for around £50, and for that price I think it's got some great functionality. With 115 presets on board, there's quite a variety in tone and timbre. If I was pushed, I'd say this instrument is best for sci-fi and hybrid scoring, as many of the sound sources are quite spacey, quite synthy. However, having said that, you could probably coax some quite organic sounds out of this with a bit of trial and error too. If you're already familiar with these kind of hybrid Kontakt instruments with multiple effects and rhythms, then Helios is worth a serious look. However, if you're a beginner in that field, perhaps look for something a little bit simpler, a little bit better explained to experiment with first. A wealth of freebies this week, everything from plugins to analyzers to instruments, and we're going to kick off with Surreal Machine's Diffuse delay. This is free but only until July the 8th, so you've got to get your skates on. It's an analog and digital hybrid delay plugin inspired by 1970s and 80s delay hardware units. This allows morphing between delay and reverb, and it's good for emulating tape delays, kind of long expansive smearing sounds and other types of atmospheric processing. Do have a look at the Surreal Machine's website and grab it before July the 8th. Next up, a generous freebie from Jasper Blunk. It's solo violin Legato, and this has been released alongside a great choir that's on the Performance Samples website, and also a new piano as well. Do check them out. This Legato vibrato violin is about 200 megabytes in size, runs in the full version of Contact 551 and above, and it's very basic. There's hardly any controls here at all, but it does sound absolutely beautiful, typical of Jasper Blunk. Do check it out. Another name check now, Benjamin Schulz has released Spectrum, which seems like a really useful freebie. It's available for PC and Mac in most formats and gives you a frequency display of up to 4 channels or 2 stereo pairs. You can look at the EQ frequencies of your mix in real time, and this is really useful for spotting where tracks might be masking one another or interfering with one another in your mix. You can use it to monitor a busy mix quite easily. There's also a 16-channel paid version. Do have a look at the link in the description below for details. Before this week, I'd never heard of Dead Duck Software, but they've got a fun name and some very generous freebies, so why not include them here? Their effects bundle includes 16 simple but effective plugins, and they're for Windows only. Do be aware of that. You've got a flanger here, gating, phaser, chorus, and many other ones too. They've also got 2 synths available, again for Windows only, a digital subtractive synth and an FM synth as well. As I'm on Mac, I haven't had a chance to test any of these out, but if you're on PC and you do download them and give them a try, please let me know in the comments below what you think. This week's progress report is IK Multimedia's Syntronik. Now, this is a new vintage synth collection due to be released in July 2017, but I'm giving it a mention a little bit early as there's a half-price pre-order on at the moment, so I wouldn't want you to miss out on that. This makes it €99 for some previous customers, or €149 for everyone else. These prices exclude VAT, just be aware of that as well. There's 38 synths here that have been sampled, including classic Roland, Moog, Oberheim and Yamaha units. There are loads of onboard effects too, and IK's drift programming, which is supposed to emulate the unpredictable behaviour of analog circuits. I'll be interested to see how that works out. The final package is about 50 gigabytes in size, so pretty huge, and it's got over 2,000 presets. There's some impressive sounding demos online, some preview videos as well. Do have a look at those, and I'll be interested to report back when this is released. Thank you so much for watching the show, for tuning in. Don't forget there's a podcast version of the show with all of these products in their full audio glory, and you can also hear more examples of Helios, our big review product, in the podcast too. I'll be here again next week for show 46. Bye bye now.